you are 6-7 years in the markets, which is longer than most that we see online. You've done almost $1 million or $1 million in payouts, and then almost 7 million in management. There's a lot of lessons you've probably learned along the way. Obviously, we can sit on a podcast and talk about the highs, but I'm sure there's lows, which we've covered. But what about lessons? What are the key things you've learned inside the markets and outside the market?
Trading is the thing that gives you a lot of lessons for sure, and they hurt. So I've had, the usual losses. I took big losses when I was trading personal capital. That's when I had my biggest losses, obviously. Like 2020, I lost like 60K to gold just before the Russia-Ukraine war.
On a personal account?
Yeah, so I knew gold was going to go long. I stacked positions. I wasn't paying attention to my margin level. And then it just weakened me by 30 or 40 bips and then blew up. And that was I had to take a break from that. But there's a lot of lessons. I think trading is a direct representation of yourself as a person. So once you pass something in trading, like a barrier or something, you also pass one yourself, right? So lots of lessons, over trading and over leveraging. You go through that. I think you have to go through every mistake to actually go over it. Because even me mentoring people, I've mentored people, and I consider myself a very good person when it comes to psychology, because I've actually studied how the mind works, whatever. So when someone has a problem that I went through, you can give them the solution that you did, but they're not gonna do it, right? Like you say, they need to do it themselves.
When it comes to psychology, which I think is a very interesting topic, it's something that is a buzzword. People use it too much, and at the expense of bad technicals, they mask it with psychology. I think everybody can agree that if first you figure out your technicals and then work on your psychology, which is maybe year 2, year 3 is something to work on.
I disagree to that.
Tell me, please.
Yeah, actually, I think psychology needs to be the first.
No way. Okay, explain to me why you believe this.
Because that's what I did. So I didn't know I was going to trade, right? But first I'm not saying about psychology in trading. I'm saying about psychology in general.
You mean like willing to work hard, take risks, these kind of things?
So understand how you can program your mind. Because even us now, this point, like we're disciplined, we're consistent, right? We show up every day, gym, eat healthy, everything. That needs to have a base set up. So for me, it was from a background of playing sports, which helped me, but also studying like psychology. I read like 15 psychology books, and I understood how I can program my mind. So if I do something wrong, maybe let's say I overtrade. Usually when people overtrade, they just get mad and then they do it again, instead of focusing on the actual core problem that results into overtrading, like the core principle that brought them there. So I do believe like before you start trading, you need to fix your psychology. You need to have your expectations in place. Because now with social media, you see trading, right? You're like, I'm going to make so much money. No, you need to know how to control your expectations. Always. I always say this, you need to have low expectations, not high expectations. If you have low expectation when it comes to trading, life, whatever, if you go into that with no expectation, then it's either you're going to be happy because maybe it works out, or you're just going to be, all right, I didn't have any expectations anyways. So you just remove that,
I've seen this thing, it's called survivorship bias, which is basically the guys on social media that you hear like, oh, I did this and this, I took all this risk, I went all in, whatever. And it worked out for them. So you see them on the internet, you're like, oh, that's what I need to do. But what you don't realize is they stood at the top of the mountain and they did that. What about all the people that did the same thing and it didn't work out, but you don't hear their story? So I think, that expectations or, what social media can portray is a little bit dangerous for these kind of reasons. But I do agree with what you said of a paradigm shift to go out of the norm. There's a matrix term, whatever, but I believe it's true. Like, you got to have a different mindset to think different, do different, be different. You have to have something within you driving that. Otherwise, you're going to end up where the system puts you, which is the map in front of you, which is laid out, which is school and job and everything. We are doing something that is not ordinary, and it's a little bit riskier, and it's uncertain, and there's no qualification. So it is something that requires a switch in your brain.